Vishal. Welcome to my channel Brain Tech. So let's get started.
What is force? Second, resolution of forces. Third is classification of system of forces. Fourth is Varignon's theorem. Fifth and the last is transmissibility of forces. So guys, these are the 5 key important concepts related to coplanar of forces. So be tuned with us right from start till the end. What is a force? In simple, force is nothing but pull and push of an object. Let us understand the definition with the help of an example. Here is a block. Block is applied with a force F. In mechanics, we are going to deal with two kinds of forces. One is static force and the other is the dynamic force. Now let us understand what is static force. Static force is such that suppose a block is pulled with a force F. If the block does not move from its original position, means there is no friction in the block. This kind of force is known as static force. The second comes is the dynamic force. Now what is dynamic force? Dynamic force is totally opposite of the static force, such that suppose a block is pulled with a force F. If the block moves towards left side from its original position to the other position such that there is a friction in the block, that kind of force is known as dynamic force. Next, we are going to see about resolution of forces. Resolution of forces means breaking the force into two mutually perpendicular components such that the two components can be added together to get the resultant force. Now, what does it mean? We'll understand with a simple example. Suppose here is one inclined force of 60 kilonewton. It is making an angle of 30 degrees. Whenever you see an inclined force, immediately converted into two components, that is horizontal component and the vertical component, such that draw two mutually perpendicular forces for the inclined force of 60 kilonewton. So this is f of y, that is the vertical component. This is known as horizontal component, that is f of x. Now what does that word means? The two components added together to find the resultant force. It means resultant is equal to root of f of x the whole square plus f of y the whole square. Means always remember angle making with whichever plane, that is horizontal plane or the vertical plane. In this case, angle is making with the horizontal plane. Always consider it has a cos component and the other one will be the sine component. If the angle is making with the vertical plane, then this will be the cos component and this will be the sine component. So in this case, f of x is 60 cos 30 and here it is 60 sine 30. So here it is 60 cos 30, which is also equals to 51.96 Newton. F of y is 60 sine 30, which is also equals to 30 Newton. When you add up, you'll get it as 60 Newton, which is my resultant force. When we do the square root of these two components, f of x and f of y, then you get the value as R equals to 60 Newton. Next is classification of system of forces is further divided into coplanar forces and non-coplanar forces. Now what is non-coplanar and coplanar? We'll see ahead. Coplanar forces is further divided into next three parts, that is concurrent force, parallel force, and the last is general system of force. Non-coplanar forces are not further divided into any part. Now we'll understand each and every term. Coplanar forces means what? Forces lies in one plane. Non-coplanar forces means the forces does not lie in one plane. For the sake of ease, coplanar forces are also known as 2D force. Non-coplanar forces are also known as 3D force. In coplanar system of forces chapter, we are going to deal with only 2D force, that is f of x and f of y. Now we'll see what is concurrent system of force. Concurrent system of force is, here is one point and on that one point infinite forces are acting. So this point, suppose that point is A and this is 2 kilonewton, 3 kilonewton, 4 kilonewton and 5 kilonewton. Suppose this four forces acting on one point P. This point is known as point of concurrence. So this is known as concurrent system of forces. The next we'll see is parallel system of force. Parallel means what? The two forces are parallel to each other. So these are known as parallel system of forces. The next is we are going to see is general system of force. And the word general itself means what? All the forces. That the force can be in x direction, the force can be in y direction, the force can be in any direction, inclined, it can be anything. So this is known as general system of forces. Guys, next topic is transmissibility of force. Now, what is transmissibility of force? Means what? Transfer. Transmissibility means transfer of force. For example, this is your system. This is your line of action. So, on this point is your actual force, that is F. If you want to transfer the force from one point to another point, suppose if you want to transfer the force here, so when you want to transfer the force from this point to this point, you can transfer only through line of action. So if this is the force and this is the line of action, so you can transfer here. You cannot transfer anywhere on this surface, on this surface. For example, one more I'll give you. Suppose this is a quadrant. On this quadrant, this is a point A. If this is a force, draw line of action along the force, along the force. The force is like this. Just draw line of action. This is known as LOA. Now you need your force, that the force is in third quadrant and you need your force to be transferred in first quadrant. So you can transfer along line of action anywhere on this line. So this is F. So this is the actual concept of transmissibility of force, that you can transfer any force from one point to another point along line of action. Before we understand the next concept, that is Varignon's theorem, first I'll give you a concept of moment. So what is moment? Moment means the product of force into perpendicular distance. So mathematically, if you see, moment is equals to force into distance. So this concept you should know before you know about Varignon's theorem, that moment is force into perpendicular distance. For example, suppose this is a point, here is a load F and A. So if you say moment about A is force into, the distance should be perpendicular to the force. So this is, the distance is perpendicular to the force, F into X. So this is has moment. This is a mathematical relation of moment. Now we move towards Varignon's theorem. The next concept is Varignon's theorem. What is Varignon's theorem? Says the sum of moments of all forces will be equal to the moment produced by the resultant of force. Now what does that mean? The sum of moment of all the forces will be equal. Sum of all the forces means, we'll see mathematical relation. Summation of moment about any point is equal to moment produced by the resultant of the force. Resultant of the force means what? R into X. R stands for resultant, X stands for distance. Suppose here summation of moment about any point means what? For example, this is point A, and on this rigid B there are different loads acting on it, which is 10 kilonewton, 20 kilonewton and 30 kilonewton, which are at a distance of unity, 1 meter, 1 meter and 1 meter. Now this is a system of force given to you, and I assume that the resultant value is given to you, so which is something around, for example, which is 20 kilonewton. So resultant value is 20 kilonewton, and you need to calculate that resultant is at what distance from X. So we'll apply Varignon's theorem. Varignon's theorem says summation of moment about any point, here I am considering point A, is equals to product of resultant moment of resultant. So which is, now summation of moment about A means what? Summation, sum means what? Addition of all forces along point, what you have to take? A. So which is, I'll say it is 10 into moment, what I said, that the distance should be perpendicular, so distance perpendicular, and that is 1, so 10 into 1. Then again here is a perpendicular distance, this is 20 into moment about A. A is your reference point, so all the distance should be with respect to A, so it is 1 plus 1, that is 2. Then here it is 30 into 3, perpendicular distance, and A is your reference, 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3. Now clockwise and anti-clockwise, we take it as clockwise as positive and anti-clockwise as negative. So this is plus, this is minus, and this is plus. This equals to resultant is 20 into X. So with this, with the help of Varignon's theorem, we get the value of X. So this is a good example of Varignon's theorem. I hope so you all are clear with all your concepts.